Hello everybody, this is Maniac for Bricks. Don't worry, I'll try my best to get Maniac for Toys up a little later today, but for right now I wanted to get this video out and see what you guys think as far as my LEGO sorting process. This has actually been something I've been working in and out on for a very long time. You've probably seen a couple posts here and there, sometimes on YouTube, sometimes on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter, or with the hashtag M4B Room Cleanup on any of those socials. But basically, I've been trying to categorize LEGO parts that I've had in my collection for quite some time and try to get a better sense as to what I have so that I know how to go forward building more mocks. I would definitely have more mocks to show on here or updating other mocks as long as I knew what was around. That way I wouldn't have to make more trips out to either the LEGO store or parting out a LEGO set or going through Bricklink or other methods to buy parts that I already have around here but just don't know where they are. So I've been trying to go through a whole bunch of different categories, and now I'm going to try to break it down even further. You may think from my LEGO room tour the other day, how do I work with this space? Me neither. Because it is just enough of moving around here, of trying to get everything organized and trying to progress with some things going on, like the beach town. So I'm taking some time out now. I took out a couple hours actually today to try to sort things out a little bit further. There are actually a lot of empty pockets around the LEGO room, and I'm going to do my best to fill them up. To start things off, we have these 4 Harbor Freight containers. They have 41 drawers each with, it's 5 by 8, and then they would have the one large drawer in the bottom of each of them. I got them around $15 or so, and I wouldn't personally recommend them. Just as an aside here, they are kind of flimsy when it comes to the plastic. Like, they'll still keep their shape, but even as they are jutting out of the wall. Like, look here. I could put my fingers behind this unit without moving it. It's not great, and it is supposed to be flush with the wall. Like if you measure down by the table, it is flush with the wall. For some reason, they're jutting out a little bit, and I have tried to tape them up to secure them better over time, but it hasn't always worked out so well. So I'm actually have a whole bunch of anchors that I'm going to put into the wall, safely screwing them, and they can hook up on the back, so hopefully they'll retain the shape a little bit better that way. But these are units that I've had empty for a long period of time, only recently used with like a couple of Hot Wheels cars, but I want to reuse them here with LEGO parts and categorize a lot of small pieces in these units. This will be great for clearing up a whole bunch of space, and it'll help me categorize things a little bit easier. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you around the room the other methods that I've used for organizing, sorting, and putting away certain LEGO parts, and sometimes LEGO sets. So to go from the workspace down underneath the table, we have 3 drawers of Iris Mini, I believe it's called. And they're actually pretty large size drawers. They're in even a couple other brands of relative sizes. And usually each of these are red, yellow, and green. They have 1 drawer in each color. But I've picked up 3 of these over time, basically for free, so that I've been able to have 1 entirely red, 1 entirely yellow, and 1 entirely green. Wait, where are they? Oh, those drawer units are actually out right now. When I was updating the LEGO Town earlier this week, I took out a bunch of those units because I knew they had some parts that I needed, even though they are still miscellaneous, and I was able to add in a little bit more for the town. Like, a lot of the curb came from these units. I do also have a couple other Iris units around here, and a few other relative brands like that. There's a few Sterilites around the room, and you can see they do range a bit in size, so I tried to make them work as best as I could. Usually I get them either really cheap or basically for free, like somebody's throwaway, so I do usually clean them out before I put more stuff into them. As far as these units go, they don't really have a lot of part sorting. They just have different categories of stuff that may or may not have just parts in them. For example, one of the lowest in here has Galador. Interpret that as you may, being in the low part of the shelf. There's above it, there's some Primo, there's Snap, there's a whole bunch of papers, really disorganized for that one, a couple of track pieces in there as well, and above that, there's a whole bunch of power functions, GBC related stuff, especially the soccer balls and basketballs. There's chain links in there. Anything I find mechanical that I feel like go together, they just kind of sit in that little bin. They'll probably expand from there in the near future. Above that is all plastic baggies, which is actually like a third of the plastic baggies I have around here. There's a bunch more that I could definitely use up. That's pretty miscellaneous. It has 1 or 2 mocks in there, a lot of different sets, and they're sometimes built, sometimes bagged up. The drawer above it has an X-Acto knife. It has some of the extra parts from the dioder from IKEA. These fancy little wires and lights that I have around here, I do need to fix them up because I think due to the temperature in here, the adhesives aren't sticking as well, so I need to readjust those in some way. It also has mounting tape in there and a measuring tape. Anything beyond that is either empty or it just has assorted sets. Nothing really special there. All of these I mentioned before have different poly bags that are sorted into those, or monthly mini builds, or Toys R Us make and take event things. If we come over here, there is another drawer buried behind all this stuff. Eventually, I will plow through this stuff and be able to fill that with other things, but for right now, yes, I did want to acknowledge that. This drawer has all different kinds of Lego Town and Lego City stuff. Some of them that are assembled that will go back into the town. Some of them that are bagged up I will probably won't need for a while. And they're all different themes of them, different categories. I did throw some Lego Friends in here because I thought they still kind of fit with the town. Behind there is a drawer, or there's actually like 2 Tupperwares of just random Lego sets I need to go through some point. Actually, maybe 3 or 4 Tupperwares behind there. I'm trying to look behind the table. There's actually some empty space in there I could fill too. Mega Blocks and non-Lego stuff are mostly in here. There is still plenty of Connect stuff around that I haven't moved in yet. I will find a better space for all of that and try to condense this as best as I can. It may even take another drawer unit or another Tupperware. Still working on that at some point. As you can tell, there's just enough room for me to walk around here from the room tour video. It hasn't really gotten any better, but doing my best, a little a day. Baby steps. This has mostly base plates in it. Small base plates in the small drawers, large base plates in the large drawers. Anything that is small is anything that is less than 32 by 32, and road plates do fit with the 32 by 32s. They're also raised base plates and some of the bigger ones down there. Got to move this one back from the Mars display. So yeah, that'll work. I do have a couple of drawer units down here underneath the pool table. A little hard to see, not the best lit part of the room, or any part of the room being best lit. There are some parts organized through here. I know that there's like one bin that's full of slopes and wedges and things like that. It's something relative to that. There's a few mocks that have been destroyed in here from the Lego Simpson Send in the Clones. That is demolished in one of these drawers. My previous Sigfig house destroyed in there as well. There's like 1 bin or 2 over here of Duplo. Yep, there you go. We got the 2 Duplo super trucks next to each other. There's 1 or 2 drawers over here. There's like a red drawer unit or a pinkish magenta. That's the one. Magenta drawer unit over here that has some parts in it. Used to have base plates, but it still has like a bunch of gray. Just all one big bag of gray that never got sorted. Some sets are in here. Still have to go through those. This is kind of unsorted. Have to go through that. But at least this gives you a good idea. And there are actually a few more drawer units that I've moved out to the garage currently, so I still have to figure out where those are going to go, try to fit them back in here in some way if I can, and the parts inside of them, where are they going to be. There's also a few bags around here of some sorted parts, and in case you didn't know, this is basically my project drawer. Every one of these has a parts list or something relative to a project that I have laid out, and just whatever parts I find for it go inside of here. So if I'm working on a beach house, this has been a plan for a long time, I put parts in there. If I come across them, this one, I believe, is for the little guys from Pike Animation. So I've got the start of one. Still have to work on a little bit more of that. But I did try to do it for each of the basic colors from the first film. The upcoming Little Guys in Space, I'll try to replicate those as well. This just has a whole Midnight Transport. I do have the parts list underneath it, so I could actually go through this, because as you might remember, this was incomplete when I bought it on eBay. So I did get the parts list from Bricklink. And a bunch of drawers underneath here actually don't have projects in them. But yeah, it's like a half room tour now. But now we're back to the parts sorting, and what have I done thus far? So up to this point, whenever I sort Lego parts, I would put them into large Ziploc bags. That way, if I have a big mass of a certain type of part, then I could put it all together, put it into a certain drawer, and if I need to exchange those drawers later, then the bags can move very easily. That way I don't have to pour the pieces all the way through. But as I'm trying to work on these Harbor Freight drawers right now, I'm getting a little more specific with each of these things and trying to organize them in a certain way. For the entire Lego room, I'd like to do some sort of quote unquote floor plan of where my parts are going to be stored, and even Lego themes and sets and such, and figures. So for right now, here is what I've come up with in trying to organize the Harbor Freight drawers. I've actually done it by the appropriate measurements of how many drawers and how many rows and how many columns and such like that. Even included the large horizontal drawers in there. And this just gives a rough idea as to the types of parts that I have available. There are plates on the top, there's tiles, there's a few modified tiles, there's wedges, there's like rounded plates and rounded tiles in here, and then right across that horizontal area with like the two large units, there are just basically bricks. There's just regular bricks in here. There's a few modified bricks. There's a few rounded bricks. There's also an area for slopes, which I've been trying to work on, and a little bit for panels. There are some categories of parts that I will have an overflow of these, so I don't expect every single 1x1 brick or 2x10 plate to fit in a certain drawer. I may have extra space and need to use that over here, so that's why a lot of these are empty. I just kind of did as many categories as possible, and if they overflow, then I will just have 4x10 plate and then 4x10 plate next to it. You know, it'll be just two things in a row with that type of part. And then what I also did towards the bottom of this thing, I actually did some measurements in studs of what each of these containers could hold between a small one and a large one. So I actually did plan it out so that there is actually a series of parts that are too big for each of these. So I'm working with them as best as I can and figuring out what is the best way to organize them. Maybe put them into larger drawers if they're too large for the small ones or something like that. If there's a big quantity of them, maybe that'll work. Or I might just move them to a whole other unit if I do something. It's also going to be good for when I build mocks, so I'll know what parts to get. But if there's so many of a certain part, I might have to start building mocks just to clear up some of that quantity. So let's see what I got so far. I spent a little over an hour today going through some of the poly bags. I know I didn't get that video up yet. I'm still trying to figure out the error with that. But I went through some of the poly bags and trying to get some extra parts out of them because there are some of those I could easily categorize right away. And I also went through a bag full of large bricks. So here is what I've come up with so far in just pulling out different drawers. You probably saw a lot of empty spaces already in the Harbor Freight units. This is astounding. There's so much that already is, getting some diversity in here between plates and tiles and bricks, but this area is excessive. These are basically 1x8s and above. It's 1x8s, 1x10s, 1x12s, all over. Just trying to fit them as best as I could because I first did it by color, and then I did it by trying to fit them into each of the containers. Some of them are actually leaning over the containers, so I don't know exactly how I'm going to handle that. I may be able to wedge a few of them into other containers if they're the same size piece, but it's also going to be awkward because the certain color is not gonna, these are both a single color and they've overfilled their containers, but there's not enough for each of those colors to warrant a second container. And look at it already. This is 8 drawers that are just 1x8 and above. That's way more than what I've already had for my Excel sheet for showing that different plan. So what I'm thinking is, well, if there's so much in that sort of thing, I could grab one of the larger drawers and I could just fit all the parts inside of those for a certain type of piece or maybe 2 types of pieces. But that's a possibility I will look at a later time, but at least for now, it gets some idea across. You can even see I've already done some things with tiles. You got some plates in there, trying to categorize those in different ways. For 1x1s, I figure 1x1 round plates, it's okay to pair these together, and I'm actually going to be happy with that because I'll probably need only a certain amount of at a certain time. It'll save a little bit of space while it's in there because there's going to be tons of these to fill this thing. So I figure if I just attach them, that'll be good. And kind of the same thing with Erling bricks, jumpers, a couple other categories in here. I did actually put it on my Excel sheet that these were two different bins for parts, but then I realized quarter tiles, I don't have a lot of those right now, so I think I could fit those in with the 1x1 tiles. I don't know if these two bins are going to mesh together between plates and tiles, because it's a varied amount between them. I just don't know how many, but I don't think it's a lot. But for right now, I'll keep them separated and see how that goes. I will say this has been quite some effort so far. Hopefully this all goes well in the near future, and I hope the momentum keeps going in the near future so I can get a lot more done over here and have a better idea as to what's going to happen. I'm probably going to make some compromises with some things, even with the floor plan or whatever you want to call it is going to happen there. But if I know the parts I have before I build something major, then it'll be a lot easier when I go to Bricklink and find a certain type of part, because then I won't be buying excessive. And I'll be sure to go through the inventory as best as I can. I know a lot of these black bricks are going to be eaten up with a project or two in the near future, so that's no problem. I'm not sure beyond the other parts at the moment, but there are still a couple other bins I could definitely grab some parts from. I do have a bunch of 2x2 tiles that are organized in another bag, actually 2 or 3 other bags from I Love New York, so I could dump that out in here and probably fill the entire thing, so you'll only see Pearl Gold inside of there real soon. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to more about my LEGO sorting journey in the near future. We'll see you next time with more LEGO videos, and be sure to leave your suggestions about LEGO sorting in the comments down below.